The Garden Report is powered by Prize Picks, the exclusive daily fantasy partner of the CLNS Media Network.
Hey, Bobby Manning here. Welcome to a practice edition of the Garden Report, the final practice before Heat Celtics Game 1. Plenty to talk about going into the series. We did it all day yesterday. Wes Goldberg joined the Garden Report, as well as Sherrod Blakely after the Heat beat the Bulls and clinched the 8th seed in the East for the third straight season. Them and the Celtics will face off in a postseason series. Heat, of course, took 2 out of those 3, including last year's Eastern Conference Finals, going up 3-0, forcing the Celtics to come back, tie that series, and then lose Game 7 here in Boston. So Celtics, obviously, the significantly better roster here, offense, even defense. They could be the better team here at their best. So they're heavy favorites. Jimmy Butler out. Terry Rozier out for at least the start of this series. So there isn't going to be much hype around Miami winning this series. But what you look back to here is what carries over from last year's series, where Celtics also had a better team, also had those advantages, and Miami entered it banged up too. Butler playing in that series, a major difference, as well as the personnel on Boston's side. But the big discussion today, what does Boston carry from that? Do they look at it as revenge? Do they look at it as just another opponent? Joe Mazzulla, Jaylen Brown talked about that today.
Yeah, I mean, that can be dangerous because then you can look at 2 years ago or you can look at the bubble year. I mean, I think what matters is focusing on the present, kind of who we are as a team, what we've worked on, and the things that are every series, every playoff, every team season takes on kind of a life of its own, an identity of its own. And we spent the year establishing that identity, and I think it's important to just continue that through the playoffs, knowing that every kind of series will be a little bit different and be ready to make those adjustments when necessary. But we kind of talked about it all year. There's really no difference between the regular season and the playoffs. It's just simple details under higher duress, and it comes down to the margins, and we got to be ready to win those.
You don't forget, but you do your best to live in the moment. You learn from those experiences, and you can't bring those thoughts into it. You got to approach. You got a new team. You got new players. You know, I'm a new player, so just you come in, you stay in the moment, and you take it one day at a time.
So not much thought going into that, and that's been the right approach, I feel like, is putting last year behind them. Different team, different personnel, and they've built something that's accomplished entirely different results this year as well. So I do think it's valid to put that away, not draw in that series, and look at this as an entirely new matchup here, which it is. There's no Gabe Vincent, there's no Max Strus on that Miami side, and the Celtics have added Porzingis and Holiday. Obviously, this series, the big reason Porzingis is here, he's excited, talked about how he had a short playoff experience earlier in his career as well as the bubble. But this is going to be the first time it's full go with a team that can win a championship and has those aspirations and that kind of crowd behind him. So he's excited. Brown, more businesslike, short in his answers here, locked in clearly. And they're taking this team seriously, you can tell. Margins, starter quarters, end of quarters, halves, all those things, the priority for Mazzulla coming in rather than any narratives or things that are being talked about between these teams that go back years now. So it's always a matchup where you have to give Miami respect, given what they've done here defensively and against this team in the past with a roster disadvantage in those positions too. But this might be that time, and certainly odds makers think this time it's going to be different, and it could be a Celtics washout victory, and I'm still going to give them an enormous amount of credit if that's the kind of victory they're able to pull off here, and they're able to get that thing off their back this handily. I think that'll still be, as I described before, the perfect way to launch into this playoff run is to just put that pass behind you and throttle this team, whether it's 4 or 5 games. And they're capable of that, certainly, here. But the one thing they can't do is walk into the series with Butler down and say, we got this. So I don't think they will. I think it's going to be Spoelstra and the Heat thing that allows them to get a game or two here. As I said last night, I see the series going 6. I don't think it's going to be easy for Boston, even with the injuries and everything else going on that Miami side. But if it is a sweep, 5 games, I won't be surprised either. Let us know what you think below. We will have coverage of Game 1 from TD Garden, Sherrod, Josue, and myself down there on Causeway Street. Maybe talking to some fans, maybe getting the temperature going into this series. So we'll see you there. We'll see you post-game tomorrow night, right after the game. And that's it. This is a practice edition of the Garden Report. I'm Bobby Manning. See you tomorrow.
Hey, Bobby Manning here. If you made it this far, you probably enjoyed this video, so subscribe, turn on notifications, and check out our social media platforms at Celtics CLNS.